And welcome back to America Decides. The 2024 presidential candidates were out on the campaign trail and in the press over the weekend after last week's historic arraignment of former President Trump in Miami. For more, CBS News political director Fin Gómez joins me now, fresh off reporting in Miami. Welcome back to Washington. Before we get to the Republican field, I know you have some new reporting on Biden. We were just talking about this with Nancy a little bit. But, you know, he has been pretty tepid in terms of going after Trump on the indictment. What's kind of the strategy there? Have you been talking to Democrats about, do they want to see more from him?
I have been talking to Democrats, some top Democrats actually, connected to his campaign, and also some of those from his core constituency, if you will, and that's his the labor unions. And they frankly say that that they want to see more engagement. They want to. He has been silent. They want to see more from the president. The strategy about being above the fray is not a winning strategy. They tell me we're not going to be distracted by the bully, and that strategy is what happened in 2016. They say, and they want to see a pugilist right now. They want to, right now this is the issue that the Democratic voters are talking about. And they want to see the president more engaged because they feel that if he remains silent, former President Donald Trump sets the narrative. And it is echoes. There are echoes of 2016 if that happens. And they want to see their president engaged.
And that's interesting, too, because Labor just had the big endorsement of Biden over the weekend, and he's trying to seize that momentum. Switching gears a little bit, former Attorney General Bill Barr was on Face the Nation yesterday. And our Robert Costa, our colleague, talked to him a little bit about Trump and kind of what kind of risk he would be. Fascinating interview. Let's play a little bit of it and talk about it on the other side.
You know, he's like a defiant 9-year-old kid who's always pushing the glass toward the edge of the table, defying his parents to stop him from doing it. It's a means of self-assertion and exerting his dominance over other people. And he's a very petty individual who will always put his interests ahead of the country's, his personal gratification of his, of his ego.
Okay, so some really tough words from his former attorney general. But you're not hearing Republicans say what Barr's saying, with the exception of Chris Christie. How are Republicans kind of navigating all of this?
You mentioned the word tepid. I think that would be an accurate one to use in this setting as well, because we haven't heard that much from his primary competitors, right? There's been the dial has moved up slightly, if you will, with some criticism towards the former president after this indictment news, and there's been talk of Pence said there were serious allegations. There's been talk but there's been more talk of perhaps like pardoning him if he were convicted, like from Nikki Haley, from Vivek Ramaswamy, from others. So, but why are we not seeing that, Caitlin? And I spoke to a senior Trump official who said that it's a political calculation, they believe, that they can't go after the former president because if they do, they risk losing 50% of Republican voters. He is the most popular figure in that party right now. And for them, they believe it's a political calculation. However, this is a race. Are we going to be seeing some contrast between these rivals? I think you almost have to, perhaps, if you do want to set a tone and tenor to set your campaign as we go forward in this cycle.
Yeah, because you would imagine as someone competing for the Republican nomination, if the leader of the pack has a federal indictment, you would imagine that would be an opening. But to your point, that's interesting how the Trump campaign is seeing this, because our own polling showed 72% of Republican voters believed that this was all political more than anything else.
Right, and they're letting essentially Chris Christie be that having that space, being the attack dog, if you will. And they see Christie as almost on a quote suicide mission because he, what is his path outside of New Hampshire? Many are asking, and I think they're allowing that to happen and again having this political calculus that they can gain if perhaps these indictments and these investigations become more significant and affect the trajectory of the race.
Yeah, and so on that note, I mean, Chris Christie has been asked about whether he'd sign this debate pledge to support the eventual nominee, and he said he would essentially take it as seriously as Donald Trump did in 2016. How are Republicans kind of navigating that? Is that really an issue here? I mean, it seems like there's not much the RNC can do about it.
It's more of an issue for those who may not hit that criteria, right, for the debate stage. That's 40,000 unique donors. It could be $1, essentially. and also if they get net more than 1% over national and early state polling, that it's recognized by the RNC. However, Asa Hutchinson, Chris Christie, they've been critical of that pledge. Asa Hutchinson, for one, has said, how can I endorse if he gets convicted? How can I endorse a convicted felon? But will it have an impact? I mean, the biggest impact, as you mentioned, Caitlin, is if Donald Trump shows up at these debates. I was there in Iowa in 2016. Yeah. He did not show up at that debate. So Christie has a point. Will Donald Trump show up regardless of the pledge or not?
At all.
Right?
And that would certainly change Christie's calculus there. Yeah, something that we might have to wait till August to figure out. Fin Gómez, thank you very much. Good to see you, as always.